Hi everybody, Happy New Year. It's 2020. Can you believe it? It's a brand new year, brand new month, a brand new decade. That's crazy. Just to touch on 2020 being a year now that we're in currently, just a numerological factor that you have 2020, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 0, we have 4. And 4 is a number of, foundation, which is something that we're going to be building. We know that with every decade comes a new set of ideas and ideals, a new way of being, not just in our personal lives, but for the collective whole. It's something that we've seen here, especially in American society. Every decade has its own identity, its own flavor and indicators of, what was happening during that time. And there's already a lot going on just in this first week of 2020 that's kind of changing. It's like a paradigm shift that's happening in our society, government-wise, environmentally, and we're being informed from our past experiences from 2019 and before of how we want to go forward from here on out. And it's not the most comfortable of processes, and building a foundation never is, especially when you're talking about knocking down old constructs of thinking and being and ushering in new things based off of the light and understanding that we have now, right? So that being said, we are kicking off the second week of January pretty much into a full moon, and actually it will be like the middle of the week, really the middle of the second week of January, and we'll be going into not just a full moon, which will be in Cancer, but also a lunar eclipse. And I've talked about full moons before and how they're an opportunity for us to gather our intentions, figure out what it is that no longer serve us, and learning how to let those things go for our own betterment. And lunar eclipses only aid in that they represent sort of like an evolutionary cycle. The moon is all about cycles. Everything is all about cycles, but the moon in particular having to do with our emotions. And when we're talking about eclipses, we're talking about the casting of shadows over other planetary beings. And with the Earth shadow casting over the moon, there are some deep-seated things within us that are now rising to the surface and wanting to be dealt with, and either wanting to be utilized or let go. And so that's what the Cancer full moon on Friday, January 10th is going to offer us an opportunity to do. And with it being in Cancer, it's specifically having us take a look at the status of our environments, whether it's our home environments, our work environments, or our circles, the people that we associate ourselves with on a regular basis. We're going to be forced to really take a look at that. Also, I want to consider the ways in which we protect ourselves. So Cancer energy, anyone who's a Cancer, you have Cancer somewhere in your chart, you know that you're someone who is very introspective, but also very self-protective. You're very selective when it comes to who you allow in. You take those connections very seriously, and anything that doesn't bring you comfort, anything that jeopardizes your sense of security, very quick to establish a boundary with that. And that's something that I feel like we saw a lot in 2019, was people almost, in some ways, definitely called for, in other ways, overreactionary. And that's something that happens with us as human beings from a psychological standpoint, is when bad things happen to us, there are some of us who, of course, continue to make decisions where those things happen. And then there's others of us who we develop a shell, whether inner or outer shell, around our feelings, or sometimes even around our physical bodies, to keep ourselves safe from those harmful things happening to us again. And so what this Cancer full moon, as I interpret it, is allowing us to do is to take a look at the ways in which we need to self-protect and establish boundaries, and how maybe those boundaries need to shift or change. Maybe we've been too closed off. Maybe we're not allowing the people who are important or who could be more helpful, beneficial, or of a higher status or a closer status in our lives be, because of some fear from an old informant. or old situation that informed us. So this is a time to release operating out of fear and welcome in just being informed, right? And so I'm really excited about it because it's the first full moon of a new decade, of a new era, and it's calling us to evolve. You know, as human beings, if we're stagnant, it's usually not when we're at our best. We're at our best when we're moving forward and we're making the necessary progressions we need to constantly become better. And, you know, I'm just looking forward to being better. I myself, in my personal life, am already experiencing a sense of that, of wanting to let go of the things that bothered me in 2019 and prior, and usher in a new era for myself where I'm not driven by fear and I'm informed by my past, but not scared of the future because of what my past showed me. You know, the times where people let me down or environments weren't as safe as I dubbed them to be, or where I was overprotective because of things that had happened to me, and so I didn't really let people in, or I was afraid to let situations blossom and fool because I was too focused on, you know, the overprotecting, I don't want to be overwhelmed, or I don't want to come off one way, or I don't want to offend, and I don't want people in my space because then they compromise that and I got to figure it out. My thing is, like, as someone who practices what I practice, you know, you can't operate in fear like that. All you can do is be informed by circumstance and use the tools that we study in order to establish protection around your energy and around your physical body, as well as strengthening yourself. That way, when adversity comes your way, it can be easily warded off, or at least more easily warded off, or you're just more prepared to handle it as it comes, but you're not so busy, you know, hiding behind a barrier that you're not experiencing life in full. And it allows you to be more authentic when you can experience life in full. And that's, I know, a big goal for me this year is to operate in a sense of true, full-blown authenticity. I felt like, you know, I'm 30 now, which, you know, to me is already like numerologically and developmentally a milestone. And I'll be 31 in March. And even that, 3 + 1, 4. So I know for me, this is a year about rebuilding my foundation from everything I learned last year, which was a reason why I haven't made a whole lot of videos. Because I felt like I had been building this big foundation, which I was doing at the beginning of last year. And I had all these aspirations and all these goals, and I hit the ground running, creating videos and content and blogs in my business, which everything is working out just as it should. And everything's moving along. But, you know, I hit, I guess, a time or just a space where I was feeling like I needed to withdraw. I needed to back up and reestablish some things as new adversity was kind of knocking on my front door and was just like, okay, hold up. I wasn't ready for this. I got tools, but this is quite the challenge and this is a lot for me to deal with. So I need to get me together before I go talking to people about, you know, what my experience is or what it is that they could be doing or what their options are or whatever. So I had to do some work on me, and the inner work, the self-work never stops, and that just is what it is. But I do hope this year I'll be able to pick up more of that and to be able to share more content with you guys and go through this journey with you all. Also, I just want to make it clear, because I do a lot of videos about astrology. I am not an astrological expert. I am not. I am an enthusiast. So I do study these things, but I am not an expert. There are people out there who know how to read natal charts and all that stuff, and I know a bit of that, but that's not really my area. I'm really more into the tarot side of divining, and that's something I hope to be able to pick up more on my channel in coming months as well. But astrology is not my top forte. Okay, it's on the list of things that I enjoy doing and reading about, and I know a bit and I share that bit, but I am not an expert. So now that that's clear, anyway, going forward though, I'm just really excited as to what 2020 is going to bring. I know it's not going to be all cakes and roses and sunshine and smiles. I know that for sure. But at the same time, I'm just really excited at the growth that I think is going to be happening, not just for me, but for everybody. There was a lot of emotions flying around in 2019, and a huge paradigm shift as to, you know, what was acceptable and what kind of society we were going to be in, and, you know, what families structures were looking like has changed a lot. And also what personally we expect from ourselves and how we show up in the world in general, what that is the quote unquote supposed to look like. Those ideas are starting to be shattered. The whole idea of supposing to is kind of changing, and everyone's kind of out there finding their own way. I, for one, am very excited that that is a possibility, to find your own way, because think about, you know, 50, 60 years now, especially for people who look like myself, that wasn't such an easy task. And now it's becoming a part of our society where everyone is just getting a chance to figure it out. Now, mind you, we still got our obstacles. We still got our hills to climb in the department of, government and law and social structure and racism and sexism and all that kind of stuff. That stuff isn't going anywhere, at least not yet, but we do see things changing. So it's not completely eradicated, but it is shifting. And that's all we can ask for is progress. And as long as we're moving, it is what it is. And that's just kind of where at least I am right now in my own personal structure or whatever. But anyway, happy coming full moon, Cancer full moon, lunar eclipse. I know myself, I will be teaching my first official yoga event for this full moon. And I'll be partnering with, he goes by Hyperfiction on Instagram. That's one word. And he has the business called liveyourown.life, which you can also find on Instagram. And it will be collaborating with my business, Better Body. That's BetterBodhi. And we both are in the holistic realm, and that his is about, you know, holistic productivity, different ways in which you can structure and organize your life in a holistic way. And then mine is also about like just alternative therapies and holistic practices, including yoga and massage therapy and Reiki and pranic healing and things like that. So we will be collaborating to host our first yoga class. It's called the Weekend Wind Down. So if you're in the St. Louis area, it will be in North City at 1400 North Market Street, 63106, I believe. It's called the Collective STL Space. It used to be Mindful Movements, if anyone in the area is familiar with that. So I do hope to see you there. There's no RSVP necessary. But you just show up. You can bring your mat, although we do have materials that we will be providing for you, and hopefully, ideally, some concessions at the end. We'll see. There will also be a beautiful sound bath by, his name is Tiger. He will be performing on drums. I'm not sure what the type of drums is, but it has more like a metallic sound, almost like steel drums. But, you know, I'm not well versed in that. I don't know the name. But anyway, it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be a great way to usher in the energy and to have a nice, calming, tranquil space to set your intentions to get ready for this next cycle until the new moon and the waning moon and the waxing moon and all that. Going forward into the rest of the month and into February. It's going to be a gentle and restorative practice. So you may sweat, but it's really more so just to kind of get in touch with your body, especially at the end of, you know, for a lot of us, just picking up our lives again after the holidays. By the way, belated happy holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all that good stuff. You know, if you were on a break and your kids or yourself were going back to school, or you were on a work break and you're headed back to work, a lot of us are just now reshifting back into, you know, the post-holiday reality. So this class is meant to be a great way to just kind of ease back into things and settle out and create room in your inner body and in your mind to set the intentions going forward into the rest of the new year. So if you are in the area, I do look forward to seeing you. And until next time, feel free, of course, to leave a comment, ask any questions you like. If you like the video, then like the video. And if you like the other videos, then please subscribe. And until next time, where I get to see your beautiful virtual faces, hopefully in the comment section. All right, till next time, namaste.